Have you considered that upon reaching your 80s, your muscular mass has probably already declined by half compared to your youthful years? Sarcopenia represents a catastrophic ailment that steals the independence of millions of people globally. It influences over 50 million senior adults. Falls stemming from muscular weakness transport more than 300,000 elderly individuals to hospitals yearly. Now arrives the astonishing element. The Journal of Physiology features research that disputes the notion that such extreme muscular deterioration is unavoidable. Particular people in their 70s maintain the vitality, capacity, and even bodily appearance of someone decades younger, while the majority of individuals their age have difficulty performing even the most basic activities like standing from a chair or walking upstairs. These people succeed in maintaining total independence well into their 90s, and they consistently surpass others half their age on strength evaluations. They also persist in climbing mountains and participating in athletics. Please appreciate and follow for additional educational health materials similar to this one if you discovered it beneficial. So what represents their unique methodology? Well, 93% of senior people are oblivious about what practices can dramatically postpone or even reverse age-associated muscle deterioration. But researchers at the Mayo Clinic have uncovered them. Numerous doctors never tell their elderly patients about the most crucial habit that can assist them in restoring lost muscle tissue well into their 70s and 80s. According to researchers at Harvard Medical School, what studies have demonstrated to be vital for preserving strength as we age actually opposes many physicians' recommendations. Continue reading because the initial practice is likely something you execute incorrectly on a regular basis. This frequent error is accelerating the progression of muscle wasting by activating genes that normally would not become active. Fixing this individual behavior could represent the difference between enjoying your retirement years independently or requiring help from others. Have this video liked and subscribe to our channel for more content like this before we commence. Also, share with us in the comments where you're watching from. All right, let's dive straight in. The seventh practice involves hormetic stress. One of the most surprising things that robust 80-year-olds accomplish is exposing themselves to hormetic stressors, which are specific types of stress. Hormesis represents the phenomenon where substances that would be damaging at higher concentrations provide beneficial effects when exposed to them at lower quantities. What doesn't eliminate you literally strengthens you, particularly regarding muscle. According to investigations performed by the Buck Institute for Research in Aging, short exposures to certain stresses activate cellular defense mechanisms that enable the preservation and even enhancement of muscle function and development in individuals far into their 80s. Temperature fluctuation represents the primary hormetic stressor utilized by superagers, stimulating brown fat, enhancing mitochondrial biogenesis, and initiating adiponectin, a hormone that protects muscle tissue from degradation. Brief exposure to cold, such as completing showers with 30 to 60 seconds of cold water or quick cold plunges, proves advantageous. Saunas and hot tubs function in a similar way, activating heat-shock proteins that protect muscle cells from damage and repair them. 10 years of sauna usage was connected with 40% less muscle deterioration than non-sauna users. According to a Finnish investigation, regular sauna usage was classified as 4 to 7 times weekly. Intermittent fasting or consuming food within strict time boundaries represents the second hormetic stressor. To enhance muscle quality and promote autophagy, the cellular purification process, superagers confine their food intake to a narrow window of 8 to 10 hours each day without causing weight reduction. This approach improves mitochondrial performance in muscles by as much as 10% in just 12 weeks. According to a study from the Salk Institute, muscle contractions, though temporary and powerful, constitute the third hormetic stressor. Overcoming isometrics, where superagers repeatedly push or pull immovable objects to their maximum for 5 to 10 seconds at full intensity, represents a common form of exercise. These brief, yet forceful contractions signal to muscle cells to remain large and active without placing excessive strain on the joints. The intermittent nature of these stresses represents what gives them their effectiveness. They need to be brief and followed by ample recovery time. Properly administered, these controlled stresses activate longevity genes, including FOXO and sirtuins, which primarily function to preserve muscle mass as we age. Attempt to transition into these habits gradually until you develop a tolerance. You don't want to overwhelm your system. Gentle, beneficial stress represents what you're striving for. Technique for protein timing represents the sixth practice. While the amount of protein consumed represents a significant concern for seniors, research suggests that the timing of protein consumption may be even more vital. Scientists describe the gradual decline in protein utilization that happens with age as anabolic resistance. Research in the Journal of Nutrition revealed that, contrary to common belief, seniors should not consume all of their protein at once, but rather distribute it throughout the day. Now, we arrive at the crucial section. A window of opportunity for protein synthesis occurs in your muscles approximately 3 to 4 hours after each meal. Most seniors make the error of getting all their protein at dinner, which means they aren't getting sufficient protein throughout the day to build muscle. The optimal method to employ: distribute your meals throughout the day and aim to get 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each one. So instead of having cereal or toast for breakfast, try consuming eggs, Greek yogurt, or a protein smoothie. Lean meats, fish, dairy, or vegetarian protein sources like lentils and beans should continue this pattern during lunch and dinner. When compared to consuming the same amount of protein concentrated in fewer meals, this scheduling approach alone can boost muscle protein synthesis by as much as 25%. In a 12-week study conducted by the University of Texas, individuals who adhered to this approach managed to gain an average of 1.2 pounds of muscle without changing any other aspect of their lifestyle. If you want your muscles to grow stronger or prevent wasting away, it's not sufficient to merely eat protein. When you eat, it also makes a difference. Number 5 habit: optimization of vitamin D levels. Were you aware that the so-called muscle vitamin is deficient in more than 80% of the elderly population? The silent destroyer of strength, vitamin D deficiency, is prevalent among seniors. Let me explain. Supporting your bones isn't the only requirement for vitamin D. Researchers at Harvard University determined that vitamin D activates the genes that are involved in constructing and synthesizing muscle. In order to develop and maintain muscle mass, your cells contain vitamin D receptors that, when activated, initiate processes. Interestingly, a groundbreaking study in JAMA Internal Medicine indicated that elderly people whose vitamin D levels were optimal had 25% greater muscle strength than those whose levels were inadequate. Additionally, they displayed noticeably improved reaction time, coordination, and balance, all of which serve an essential role in preventing falls. Vitamin D deficiency is defined as levels below 20 nanograms per milliliter, while superagers who seem to age without aging almost always have ideal levels above 40 nanograms per milliliter. Which vitamin D supplementation approaches work best? Although sun exposure is beneficial, it loses some of its effectiveness as we age. This is because our skin's vitamin D production decreases by 50% from 20 to 65 years of age when exposed to sunlight. The standard daily requirement of 600 international units is quite inadequate, but supplementation is necessary for the majority of seniors. Although this should be personalized based on blood testing, research indicates that most seniors require 2,000 to 4,000 international units per day to achieve appropriate levels. Include vitamin D-rich foods such as fatty fish, egg yolks, and fortified dairy with this. And try to get 15 to 20 minutes of direct, midday sun exposure, if possible. A word of caution: insufficient levels of vitamin K2, which is found in fermented foods and specific animal products, prevent calcium from reaching the arteries and instead promotes its use by the bones thanks to the synergistic effect of vitamin D. arteries may become calcified if vitamin D supplementation is done at high doses. This underappreciated yet critical vitamin-nutrient interaction may be the deciding factor in your success. To determine how much vitamin D your body needs, consult your doctor for a blood test. Then, to prevent your muscles from wasting away, try to maintain your levels above 40 milligrams per milliliter. Rule number 4. Manage inflammation every day. So what do exceptionally strong elderly people have in common? Interestingly, the levels of inflammation are quite moderate across the board. Researchers have recently concluded that inflammaging, a term for chronic low-grade inflammation, represents a key factor in the deterioration of muscle mass in the elderly. Muscle protein is broken down at a rate higher than the body's ability to replace it due to this quiet inflammatory process. But that's not all. Inflammation hinders the anabolic signals that normally promote muscle growth in response to exercise and protein intake, unrelated to their protein consumption or exercise routines. Seniors whose inflammatory indicators were the highest lost muscle mass 3 times more rapidly than those whose levels were the lowest, according to a seminal study out of Tufts University. Certain anti-inflammatory strategies are employed by superagers who maintain their youthful strength, which the majority of seniors fail to notice. Their first priority involves having a good night's sleep, which they achieve by going to bed at the same time every night and sleeping in a completely dark room. Loss of sleep can hasten muscle atrophy by increasing inflammatory cytokines by as much as 40%. And secondly, they pay close attention to the state of their digestive system. Alterations to gut flora associated with aging are a direct cause of systemic inflammation. According to new studies out of the University of California, the diets of superagers include a variety of plant foods 30+ per week, fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and so forth that include natural probiotics and a wide variety of fiber sources consumed daily. Thirdly, workout intensity represents something they plan ahead for. Regular mobility is essential, but elders should avoid doing intense workouts because it might exacerbate inflammation. The average superager works out at a moderate level most days with brief, intense intervals incorporated once or twice a week. Last but not least, they regularly consume certain anti-inflammatory substances, such as omega-3 fatty acids, 2 to 3 grams per day from fatty fish or supplements, curcumin, turmeric, and polyphenol-rich foods such as various berries, green tea, and extra virgin olive oil. Researchers at the University of California discovered that inflammatory indicators can increase by as much as 29% in as little as 12 weeks due to age-related shifts in gut bacteria. An easy blood test that measures high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, or hsCRP, can help you monitor inflammation. In contrast to the ordinary senior who has levels 3 to 5 times higher, superagers usually keep them below 1.0 milligrams per liter. Principle 3. Taking a specific vitamin every day. Although the majority of dietary recommendations focus on macronutrients such as protein, carbohydrates, and fats, superagers who have remarkable muscular strength pay close attention to particular micronutrients that support protein synthesis and muscle function. In order for your body to make the most of the protein you eat and the benefits of exercise, these essential nutrients serve as facilitators. If you lack them, no amount of protein or exercise will prevent you from losing muscle mass. University of Vermont researchers have dubbed magnesium the forgotten electrolyte for muscle health. Thus, it naturally takes precedence. This mineral is essential for more than 300 enzymatic reactions that are involved in the functioning of muscles, and more than 70% of the elderly population is deficient in it. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published a study in 2021 that indicated seniors whose magnesium levels were adequate had 30% stronger grips and much higher physical performance than those whose magnesium levels were even slightly low. In addition to supplementing with magnesium in highly bioavailable forms like glycinate or threonate, superagers usually eat foods that are rich in magnesium on a daily basis, such as dark leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and dark chocolate. Creatine comes next. It's not reserved for novice bodybuilders. Compared to strength training alone, creatine supplementation considerably enhanced older adults' muscle mass, strength, and cognitive function, according to McMaster University research from 2015. Muscle energy generation and water content in muscle cells can be enhanced with a daily intake of 3 to 5 grams, resulting in an anabolic environment. Next up is methylated B12, a B vitamin that gets a lot of short shrift. Because stomach acid production declines with age, our body's capacity to absorb B12 also declines. Worse yet, proton pump inhibitors and metformin, two of the most widely used drugs, severely deplete this vital vitamin. Both neuronal function and the generation of energy by muscles are affected by a deficit. The active form of cobalamin, methylcobalamin, is usually supplemented by superagers instead of the cheaper cyanocobalamin that is present in most multivitamins. Mineral coactors such as zinc, selenium, and chromium play an equally critical role in facilitating protein synthesis and insulin sensitivity, qualities that are essential for the transport of nutrients to muscle tissue. Optimal levels of these trace minerals were associated with a 22% increase in muscle mass maintenance over a 5-year period, according to a thorough study out of Tufts University. Micronutrient testing can help superagers find their unique nutritional gaps so they can supplement appropriately rather than relying on a generic multivitamin. By tailoring their treatment to their specific biochemical requirements, they can save money by avoiding unnecessary treatments. Preserving your neuromuscular connections represents habit number 2. Here's an interesting fact that the majority of seniors are unaware of. When muscles atrophy, it affects more than simply the individual fibers. Usually, the weakest link is the one that connects your muscles to your nervous system. Neuromuscular junctions are similar to the outlets that supply electricity to your muscles. When they start to deteriorate, which happens at a much faster pace beyond 60, no amount of protein in your diet or exercise will help your brain connect with your muscles. Extremely strong superagers, according to new research out of the University of Michigan, have far better neuromuscular connections than the average senior. Even more exciting, researchers have identified several behaviors that can preserve or even repair these vital links. In the first approach, you'll work on coordinating and precisely executing a series of predetermined movements. Research has demonstrated that compared to regular strength training or even just walking, activities such as Tai Chi, dancing, tennis, or even ping pong might improve brain pathways to muscles in order to strengthen the neuromuscular connections. These exercises require your nervous system to recruit muscle fibers in specific patterns. Researchers in 2020 showed that compared to older adults who merely exercise conventionally, those who participated in coordination-demanding activities twice weekly preserved neuromuscular connections 31% better. Chemicals that promote neuromuscular health are the focus of the second method. Evidence suggests that alpha-lipoic acid and acetyl L-carnitine can prevent oxidative damage to the nerve-muscle link. The fact that some B1 forms like benfotiamine and huperzine found in Chinese club moss can boost the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, the principal one responsible for muscular activation, is even more encouraging. Some of the breathing techniques used by superagers stimulate the vagus nerve, which aids in the regulation of neuromuscular transmission. In as little as 5 minutes a day, you can increase neural activation of muscles by as much as 15% by practicing simple breathing techniques like box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. Perhaps the most fascinating is the link between mental activity and the maintenance of neuromuscular connections. Columbia University conducted a seminal study that indicated older adults' muscular function was far better preserved when they routinely participated in challenging cognitive pursuits. Since the neuromuscular system and the brain share many neural pathways, the researchers found that brain training had a direct positive effect on the neuromuscular system. Using these neuromuscular preservation techniques, superagers can keep their brain connections strong far into their 80s and beyond, allowing them to recruit muscle fibers efficiently. First habit, resistance exercise that builds over time. The most crucial habit that distinguishes exceptionally strong 80-year-olds from their counterparts represents the one that experts at Tufts University deemed the most powerful anti-aging drug ever found. We have arrived at this habit, resistance training that builds upon itself, but not in the manner that the majority of seniors do it. By using targeted resistance training programs, the superagers whose strength levels defy their actual age fight the biological processes of muscle atrophy. Most elders never learn this fundamental truth. Your muscles function according to the use it or lose it principle, with a crucial exception. In order to maintain them, you must gradually challenge them. Keeping up with the same modest weights week after week, going for a walk, or doing water aerobics won't be sufficient to maintain muscle mass over the age of 60. How is the method used by superagers unique? To begin, the emphasis is on intensity, not duration. 2 weeks of high-intensity resistance training to the point of failure resulted in greater muscle gain for seniors compared to 5 weeks of moderate-intensity exercise, according to research out of McMaster University. The most important thing is to get to the point where you can't do another repetition with proper form, what exercise physiologists term transient muscle failure. This triggers protein synthesis in the muscles for as long as 72 hours after exercise by sending strong anabolic signals. Secondly, superagers put an emphasis on compound movements, which use numerous muscle groups all at once. Their mobility and joint health should be taken into consideration while designing modified versions of squats, deadlifts, rows, pushes, and pulls. Compared to isolated actions like bicep curls or leg extensions, these movements produce a stronger hormonal response. Third, they use progressive overload, which involves gradually increasing the level of difficulty as time goes on. Using the same weights month after month causes stagnation because your muscles adapt to whatever stress you put them under. People who are superagers keep track of their workouts and push themselves to do a little bit more each time. As a fourth point, they put an emphasis on the eccentric or lowering parts of exercises, which are known to be beneficial for strengthening the muscles of the elderly. Lowering the weights slowly puts more strain on the muscles without putting as much strain on the joints. Amazingly, this method works even for people who are starting late. Older adults who began a 12-week program of progressive resistance training improved their strength by 35% and added an average of 3.3 pounds of muscle, according to a revolutionary study out of the University of Alabama. Along with these remarkable changes, there were also increases in cognitive function, bone density, and blood glucose control. What therefore represents the most common mistake that seniors make. The problem is that many believe resistance exercise is too dangerous or inappropriate for them. The real danger lies in the fact that resistance training is essential to prevent further muscle loss, which in turn increases the risk of fragility, falls, and independence issues. Get into the habit of progressive resistance training if you only do one thing from this video. If you want to ensure you're doing everything correctly, consult a trainer first. Then work up to the intensity that's right for your fitness level. Achieving just 2 30-minute sessions per week can have a profound impact on how quickly you age. Here they are, the 7 practices supported by research that account for the remarkable muscular strength that some 80-year-olds maintain. Select a habit that you can easily implement today and work your way up to the others. Investing effort today into building your strength and independence will pay dividends in the long run. It is time for you to speak up. Are you currently engaging in any of these 7 habits? If so, which one surprised you? Is there an elderly person in your life that possesses remarkable strength considering their age? Leave a comment below and tell us about yourself and your thoughts. Please share them with us. Thank you for your time.